Can you tell us that one moment besides you said that you were teaching students and there was the voluntary stint.
Yes,
And
yes.
where you felt that I'm trying to teach these guys and I'm a good
Yes,
teacher and they're not
yes.
understanding.
When I was volunteering, opened up, it's not the same for everyone. So the kind of education I got, or the education these kids are getting, or some other, student in
Huge
some other
disparity.
city, huge disparity, or even the ones who are getting the best education, is that only perceived that it is best?
Yeah.
Or can it be better? So that thought process, was very interesting, that how sometimes we just live in our own bubbles and imagine that this whole world is just only that.
One of our mission is to inspire more people to take that journey that you took, right? So
Right.
that moment where you decided that, okay, this is, everyone has a different experience and the gap is huge and you wanted to
Right.
make that difference.
I wanted to do something that's related to people, nothing to do with systems or computers.
From that whole context to starting the school,
Yeah.
it seems like you're getting geared up to,
Yes.
influence a lot of teachers,
Right.
but then you find yourself starting the school.
Yeah.
What changed?
So people would implement all the ideas that I used to give, but the major challenge was after a certain period, they would go back to doing same old thing. That was a major understanding for me.
What I'm really learning is that having that clarity of the vision you want to create in your ecosystem is really important. So find that why, find that purpose with which you will drive and sustain your ecosystem.
These are terms that are being used a lot.
Yeah.
Rather, let me define it very clearly. I always, do this session for my teachers every year, ask the same question. Why are our parents sending kids to school?
They have to believe in what they are getting into, the vision of the school, the vision of the founders, because only if that alignment is there, you are going to create success stories.
I always thought, how can we give students the experience of understanding how it really works in real world? Either you're going to a college, any profession that you get into, understanding how to make things work.
Welcome to Inspired. I'm your host, Ankur Gupta. Today we are joined by someone who has reimagined what schools can be. Not just buildings and classrooms, but living, breathing community where teachers lead, students explore, and learning connects deeply to the real world. Srilakshmi Reddy is the founder and director of Keystone International School in Hyderabad, the creator of Ideal Loom Framework, and the driving force behind KCITE and A Square Foundation. Her journey has taken her from curriculum design and teacher training in the US to building a green, sustainable, innovation-driven school right here in India. She has been relentless in one mission: empowering teachers to spark a lifelong love for learning. Whether you're a school owner, principal, teacher, or parent, you're about to hear insights you can take home, adapt, and make your own. Srilakshmi ma'am, welcome to Inspired. It's great to have you here on the show and be here at a beautiful campus in Hyderabad.
Thank you, Ankur. It's always wonderful to have conversations with you, not just on this podcast, offline as well.
Awesome.
And I'm always impressed with your curiosity in the education space.
Awesome. No, and I think that's something I feel we share in common, and we're looking forward to hearing, what has brought us here and the fascinating work happening in the Keystone ecosystem. So thank you so much for agreeing to be here. I know you're not very publicly, doing initiatives like this. So thank you so much for really, it's a compliment in itself for us to
Right.
have you on the show.
Doing it for the right purpose, I'm always happy to do it.
Awesome. That's great. So, I want to start with the, like they say, start with why. I'm always fascinated with that.
Right.
And you've had a very fascinating arc, from a researcher to teacher trainer, designing curriculums, and then, founding your school in India. Walk us through that journey. And, if you were to tell a story of that why, how would you share that with us?
I would say it's very interesting, at least from the point of view of how usually in India education system worked. I think we all chose engineering, lack of no other choice.
Default choice.
Yes, default choice. So like anybody else, I did my engineering, and it's only after that you would realize what you actually wanted to do. And during that path, I chose to get into the education space. I had an opportunity to briefly volunteer at an orphanage. It's very interesting how my journey started with understanding. So during this volunteering time, I was teaching a couple of kids. And when you are an engineer, usually the typical feeling is that, I did engineering and I have this knowledge. I want to go and teach these kids and they should learn. And out of that, there were a couple of students who were not learning. And here I am thinking, I'm such a good teacher and I'm doing such a great job. How come these kids are not learning? So
what age would those kids
They
be?
were all just 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. And so understanding that the problem is with me as a teacher than the kids. So that made me think that, okay, there is so much to do in the education space. And exploring more about, what's the education scenario in India. And I had an opportunity to go to the US, do my master's there in education administration. And even during that time, getting into education space more from a profession point of view, like even for a master's degree, was not common. And opportunities were very few. But I was fortunate enough to, get into a university where I had to just tell my story, my SOP. Okay, what is my plan for next 10 years?
Okay.
And that was the only thing that I had.
That was the admission process.
Yes.
Oh,
so, and even in that university, you need to have at least 3 years of teaching experience in that particular state.
So prerequisites were not on the resume.
Yes. And none of those, you have it. So then I said, let me just tell what I really want to do next 10 years. And that, the dean at that time, Miss Susan, she got convinced and said, Shri, I'll definitely give you this opportunity.
Okay.
I believe that, what you are saying and you're imagining what your next 10 years is going to be. And I'm convinced with that and I'm going to give you the admission.
Wow.
And that's how I got into the education space. And today our library at Keystone is named after her.
Oh, wow.
Susan's library.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that was your admission interview that led to a professor relationship that you developed, and you've got a dedicated library for her. That's amazing.
And that's how I got into education space. And since then, every time it was about coming back to India every 4 months, 5 months, taking up schools, working on, improving the ecosystem. Either it could be through teacher training or classroom management, anything that I could offer. And understanding, what does it really take to make any transformation in the education space.
Was these volunteer engagement that you were doing at different schools at the time?
So the volunteering was very brief stint, after I left my job, in software. And
that was in the US?
No, that was in India.
Okay.
So the brief volunteering opportunity was in India. And then post that, I've decided I want to get into education space. And then the journey into education started there.
Can you tell us that one moment besides you said that you were teaching students and that was the voluntary stint.
Yes.
And where you felt that I'm trying to teach these guys and I'm a good teacher and they're not understanding.
See, I think as students, especially in India, you are going to these private schools and you are in that circle and that society, you always think this is how it is everywhere.
Yeah.
Even now, like if you take students who are going to international schools or private schools, our exposure is only within our social bubble. That's your common denominator. That's it. So it's the same thing. It was same thing for me, and that kind of opened up that opportunity when I was volunteering. Opened up. It's not the same for everyone. So the kind of education I got, or the education these kids are getting, or some other, student in
Huge
some other
disparity,
city,
yeah.
huge disparity, or even the ones who are getting the best education, is that only perceived that it is best?
Yeah.
Or can it be better? So that thought process, was very interesting, that how sometimes we just live in our own bubbles and imagine that this whole world is just only that, and only that much is, required. So that with that understanding, I had to, work towards my research completely focusing on what is it required to make the transformation, even if it is just a small change that can happen. So went to the US, did my research, focusing more on teacher education. And why again teacher education than anything else? Whatever we speak. Right, today any conference that we go to, even a podcast like this, or every leadership person out there, globally or even at an India level, whatever ideas we have as a nation, as educators, as leadership, who's going to implement that?
At the grassroots level, it's got to be the teachers.
It's just that teacher. And that teacher in the classroom is the major, or rather more important than anybody else, I feel.
Yep.
Because our great ideas might be great, but the person who's implementing it in the classroom, is that person having that vision? Is that person having that perception, knowledge, understanding? And without, impacting that person in the classroom, we can't bring any change. So that kind of made me focus more on teacher education.
Absolutely. I mean, this is amazing to hear, and the context that we're getting in terms of where you can create a larger impact for that sustainable growth, or generally that larger impact is, I guess, is very crucial. I want to push back one more time, because one of our mission is to inspire more people to take that journey that you took, right? So that moment where you decided that, okay, this is, everyone has a different experience and the gap is huge, and you wanted to make that difference. But there was a reason why you went into that classroom to begin with, to volunteer.
Yes.
What was that driver?
I wanted to do something that's related to people. Nothing to do with systems or computers.
But this is while you were working a full-time software job?
Yes.
So this was like your personal CSR at the time, sort of? You wanted to
realizing that this is not my cup of tea, and I'll not be able to, continue as a software engineer, not fulfilling enough. And then quit that. And then was just looking at, what is that I really want to do? What do I want to, focus on? And so once, I quit my job, I had, some time to sit and think and do something that gives me the satisfaction. But in that process, realized there's so much more to do in the education.
And I think it's a fact, because I remember, when I was working in the US, I used to volunteer with the Inner School program in Chicago. And it was a fascinating experience working with these students, sort of underprivileged students, in that after school program, and the talent and the energy that you would experience being there. I mean, it never felt like you're giving. I always felt that you're getting so much more energetic, from the energy among those students. So that certainly added that dimension of fulfillment to the work that I was doing in the corporate side of things. And I think one of our mission is to encourage people to do more of those non-conventional initiatives. Go volunteer someplace, and you never know. You might
know where
identify
your
a
calling
journey, and your calling comes out of it. So thank you so much for sharing this, and I hope that our audience who are listening will get inspired to take action from such nuggets that we talk about on the show. So let's get back to this. Teacher training became the central piece for you, for the impact that you wanted to create. What happened after?
Sorry, I just wanted to add one point here. This thought just came in. you said, right, the unconventional path, and usually when we are choosing about careers, we always think a perfect path will only lead to success.
Yeah.
I actually think that my story, at least, has been more unconventional that way, being an engineer and then getting into education. Even at a university level, if you're truly passionate and if you're truly connected with and have the clarity of what you really want to do, you can go convince people and say that, okay, I do not have the prerequisites of what you're asking for, but I can still do this.
Absolutely.
And this is my story. And these are the things that I did, for you to believe that this will work.
Yeah.
And the second thing during my master's research, so it's mandatory that you have to go work in a school and do a project, the real project, in the schools there. And again, I went there, I said, no, I want to do this in India, not in the US. But the problem is, if you have to go do it in India, producing evidences, bringing it back, because there they would go back to documentation, because all the students in my cohort, picked schools in and around the university. So it's easy to come back every week, share what they're doing. I said, no, this is whatever I'm doing. The perception is for India. The story is for India.
Having that clarity and conviction is amazing.
Yes.
And
so
that
I had
enables
to
you.
convince again, saying that, no, I will do this project in India. I will come back every 2 months. I will share my story, go back and again do it. So I'll do whatever it takes. But I want this thesis to be around India and the schools, in India. And that again, worked very well. Because of all the projects that were presented, and this was more authentic, and how difficult it is to bring change to the fact that this was almost like 10 to 12 years ago. Even to bring a small change to the point, there was this teacher in the school. Back then, basic punishment within the classrooms was still common. And of all the, 20 teachers in that school, I worked for 2-3 months. Everyone were convinced with the ideas. They were implementing them. There was this one teacher who wouldn't let go her habit of punishing children. And I had to sit her down and literally ask her, could you please tell me, is there something else that I can do for you to just change this one thing? And said, ma'am, I think somewhere I am going through a problem. And that is the reason that I'm not able to do this. And it took me more than giving her strategies, rather counseling her as a person. That kind of, made her take that step towards bringing that change in the classroom. So these stories kind of gave the context to what does it really take, for the education system to bring out change or transformation. So, I think that kind of given me the confidence that, okay, there's so much more to do and it can be done.
Absolutely. And I think it's very important that ultimately that human level connect and making someone feel heard is really required in anything that you want to get done. Whether it is, in a professional world or at a personal level as well. So that's insightful to hear. So I want to hear this, let's move this forward from that research and understanding. You did a lot of the back and forth. You obviously had certain findings in your research and the experience sharing that you must have done with your cohort. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Especially when we start off in the education space, or rather any profession, we're all so passionate, right? And how much that passion will turn into reality is different. It could be, even as the business that you do with uniforms, apparel, or education, or any initiative. When we sit and imagine something versus when you actually do it, there's a huge gap in understanding that. I think that thesis experience was completely unique because we have to make a documentary out of it. And that documentary kind of, in the process of making that documentary, I realized how when you're young, you think, oh, I did this education, I had
Ready to
studied,
change
I
the
did my
world.
research. Exactly. Let me go back, change India.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Let me go back and change the, systems
Yeah.
and then make a big difference. But the reality strikes
Yeah.
that it is not easy, to do that.
Hmm.
The aspiration is good, the idea is always good, but the reality is difficult, or rather challenging, only because we're working with people. Anything in the education space is unlike, you take any great business model today. Maybe you work with products, you make products, or you work online, you do different things. But in education space, you work with people,
Absolutely.
teachers, parents, and students. And it's not a product where you can
Yeah.
make something and you release it and then it'll be successful one day, or make a small change and release a version 2 of it. Right?
You only get one shot with
Yes.
the child, or maybe you get it for 12 years,
Yes.
but that's
So
still one shot.
it's majorly about building awareness, understanding, perceptions, and whatever schools do, whatever teachers are doing, or however parents are thinking, that's something that has been built over years together. So more than looking at rather just the intentions, it's looking at, how important history is.
Okay.
What is making them do what they're doing right now, and what is that is not allowing them to change. That's, even if you just call a school, oh, it's just a traditional school, rote learning is still there, and this is just a typical school. You pick
You're just
any
getting
school.
through the syllabus, getting
Why
ready
is
for
it
exams.
like that for years? Right? And that thought process, or that understanding helped me a lot. Understanding the why part of, the school or the parent or the teacher. And then we have to go back and figure out a way, how do you help them out?
Yep.
And most of the time as entrepreneurs, we think we know what they need.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
not really looking at what is the need there. So changing that perspective and getting into their shoe and understanding it from their point of view and their perspective, I feel that worked out. And that
Yeah.
was a major learning out of that experience.
Interesting. And from that whole context to starting the school,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you're getting geared up to,
Yes.
influence a lot of teachers.
Right.
But then you find yourself starting a school.
Yeah.
What changed?
So once I moved back to India, started working with different organizations, and I was also associated with one NGO as well.
Okay.
And during that time, worked with a lot of schools and hop from one school to the other.
Okay.
Directly barge into a government school rather.
Really?
Not barge, at least walk into a government school, tell my story and say,
I
I
have
want
a
to help.
vision,
I want
yeah.
to do something, and just allow me. And from there to understanding, so people would implement all the ideas that I used to
Oh,
give.
they were open to hearing.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
nice.
open
That's
to
good.
hearing that I had experienced everywhere. But the major challenge was, after a certain period, they would go back to doing same old thing. That was a major understanding for me.
It was like a new thing, new experiment tried, but now we're back to our old ways.
Back to
Comfort
our old
zone.
ways. Yes. Unless the leadership, level changes there, or policy level changes there, or, at a school level, systems and process are in place,
Yeah.
the actual change was not happening. So that was one thing. And the second thing that I had experienced is, if you cannot demonstrate what you're talking about, if you're talking about innovation,
Yeah.
right? Okay, in your classroom, you're supposed to, implement a lesson like this.
Yeah.
And you're, looking at not having textbooks, or you're talking about, a well-being session in the classroom. And this is almost a decade back.
Wow, yeah.
And all of this, integrating it into the classroom and talking to them that, this kind of a change is important, and this is what is needed rather to be able to show that this is how it can be done. I didn't have a reference to show.
Everyone said ki this is all in your imagination.
Yes.
It's not possible.
More than imagination, the perception that, oh, this is only with international schools. This is only with, from other countries. It works in developed countries because
India
they're paid well, or their ecosystem is better, their environment or the resources are better. So people's perception, right? I'm not generalizing everyone, but majority, that something really good in the education is only happening because of, 1, 2, 3, 4, because of all these things being there.
A lot of mental roadblocks people seem to have that you discovered.
And I feel that is again just lack of awareness. And to some extent, yes, that is true, that you need to have right resources, teachers to be paid well, great infrastructure, everything, together leads to great education. But I'm here, telling people and saying that in spite of all of this, the core learning experience in the classroom many a times has nothing to do with, only having these 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Your teaching and learning models, your philosophy of education, what strategies you implement, using basic resources. And it's not that it was never there in India, right? There are some amazing schools even in India, and great examples over, decades and years. We do have them. It's just that we have categorized them, isolated them, and said they're a different category. They don't work with, mainstream, learning model. This is a different category. So a lot of work happening in isolation. So that is the second problem that I noticed. And with these two in place, whatever I tried, I used to go train teachers sometimes at a time, 300 teachers, 400 teachers, developing a module. But now all these teachers that I was working with are all in a, in a room, in a classroom, or in a particular community. What would happen? Now, how would we show them that even in India, this can happen, right? If you have the right philosophy, right approach. So that was always missing. And when you work with another school, when you work with another teacher, there is a limit to what you can do. It is only, you can only do on how much they accept, how much they allow. And that was limiting me somewhere, that to what extent I can, innovate in education.
The full potential was not able to come out, that you're teaching ABC, or you're advising them on ABC, but B and C is just not in the mindset of the leadership.
Yes. So then I said, okay, let me start a school. And do everything that I can do, right from innovation to teaching pedagogies, model, content, whatever a best model school would require, with no questions asked. And when I do it, I can go full,
then
completely.
You are that management who can take those decisions to really create that model school.
Right.
So that was really the idea behind Keystone International School.
Yes. And that's how Keystone School started. And I always say this. To me, Keystone School is like a lab.
Nice.
Where we pilot everything, we, become experts at it, we implement it, demonstrate it, whatever you call it.
You make mistakes and you then learn from it and you implement further, improve forward.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And then, especially when you build a school, when you run a school, and when you go through that complete cycle, it gives you the 360-degree perception of all the challenges that an educator would go through, that a principal would go through, that a teacher would go through.
You become more aware of those things also.
More aware of the nuances of running the school and understanding, and you only become more empathetic towards educators. You would only understand, in order to bring that larger change, what is that really happening at schools? What do schools go through? What is that, parents go through, teachers go through, the whole ecosystem. And then bring out, the best version of what can be given to teachers.
So it almost sounds like that you arrived in India to influenced the teacher community,
Yes.
but then ended up doing the school
Yes.
immediately when you came back, or around that
Right.
time you came back. How was that transition for you? I mean, you said that, okay, I'm going to do the school, but where we are sitting today, is that what you had imagined? or was it like, okay, I'll start a school with maybe,
Right.
100 kids, and then that becomes my
No.
lab, and then I go back to
Yes.
doing the teacher influence? Like, what was going on?
I'm sure you talk to any educator promoter, they would say, no, you will not imagine this. So we started very small.
Yeah.
Because here I am talking about the crazy idea of, no books and,
Yeah.
completely very authentic community problem solving concept and
Yeah.
everything. And I wouldn't say this is like the most unique in the world, but rather definitely unique in terms of how we approached education.
Yeah.
So the perception was, or rather understanding was to see, are the parents in sync with our philosophy?
That's
Or
one of the
what
most
we
big
believed.
challenging thing for
Yeah.
any school owner, and I'm sure a lot of people will resonate to that challenges. So we'd love to
Right.
hear how you went through that.
Yeah. So we made sure that we are not sitting here and talking about the facility or the infrastructure. Yes, they are important, but that is not a major criteria. And rather only talk about what will your child do in the classroom. And even now I tell, any educator that I meet, just talk about what is happening during the school hours. And I also say that the way your school's timetable is will define what these kids are experiencing.
Interesting.
We might have great ideas, right? But is it part of the timetable that your children are going through? Let's say you talk about well-being. Is well-being there in your timetable?
So
How
you're
many
saying
hours?
There is one thing of saying, oh, we do all of these things.
Yeah.
But the true execution can only be tracked through whether it's as part of your schedule.
Yes.
Wow.
If it's not in the schedule, if it's not part of your planning, on a, typically you call a planner or
Plan,
a
yeah,
timetable,
yeah.
whatever, when is that kid experiencing it?
And
When
how
is that-
often is he experiencing it?
Yes.
or she
How often,
experiencing it? Yeah.
when, and when is the teacher getting that opportunity to do that? Right? We say that, it's innovation. Let's say we innovate a lot in our school. But when? Is the teacher given that time? Is the child given that time? Do they work on it together? And is it, properly scheduled in your timetable?
Yeah.
So that is what truly makes a difference.
And that's been happening since day one.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And so when we first started the school, the idea was always to tell parents and then bring that awareness and accept only who's in sync with the philosophy. Any entrepreneur, right? Your first set or the group are the ones who will make or break your idea.
Yeah.
So we did not rather go for, okay, we want to have these many number of students first year, second year we want these many number of students. Our goal was like, how many will believe us in the first year? How many will believe us in the second year? So taking it very slow and understanding, looks like, they're very small number who believe in the model that we are talking about, but let that be. And they will become our base.
No, that's a very interesting perspective and very challenging one, I would imagine, right? I mean, for the school promoters listening, sometimes, you will hear that, okay, someone who's made it, it's easy for them to say this. But in those early years, it's a lot of challenge, whether it is, you got to run the school, you got to make it financially viable.
Yes.
And like you said, like typically people will say like, okay, you want to, fill your seats as many as possible in those early years, especially, once you've stabilized, you can always say that, okay, I'm cut off at 500, I'm cut off at 600. That's something, it's easy for us to say once sort of you've stabilized your school, but having that clarity that, okay, we're only going for believers in the early years.
Yes.
How do you?
So, you need to have that clarity, especially what is the purpose of, building a school. I always believe that, there are many schools, good schools as well. And doesn't mean that we need to add one more to that list. our thought process is, how can we give something that is missing in, what is already there? And especially from the innovation point of view. So in order to do that, if you build something very big at the beginning, any educator, irrespective of what vision they have or how passionate they are, you will be forced to fill those classrooms. Rather than looking out for who are your right educator
Mission
group.
alignment, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are they your right parent group? Working towards, your vision. Especially first 3-4 years of any educator's journey, especially when they start a school, you are, literally you will be put in so many difficult situations. Okay, let's add one more curriculum, one more board, or let's, so many of your decisions are not in sync with actually the vision that you want to take forward.
Makes sense.
And that's where from the first year to the 10th year, if they have to compare, maybe you will see some things, not aligning with, what you actually wanted it to be. So focusing on the vision part, and yes, it is challenging. Financially also it is challenging, but education is long term.
Yeah. And what the key message I got is that you got to sort of channelize in a way where you say don't overinvest so that you're forced to take those decisions. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, we have, people who may be on the fence of thinking, like you, education fascinated you at some point in your career. You might have audiences who maybe want to get into education, or you may have teachers who may be ready to take that leap of faith saying, okay, I want to start my own school. What are some of the core ideologies or philosophies that you would advise to people who may be looking to get into education?
Right. I would say that especially education, unlike any other, entity, field of education is completely, unless you're passionate, you can't get into this. Assuming that, okay, only who are passionate are getting into this, field. Now, the biggest challenge is purpose.
Yeah.
What is your purpose to get into this? How do you identify that purpose? And how do you define that purpose? And I'm sure unless you're passionate, you don't get into, starting schools or education space. But the purpose in terms of understanding, understanding the nuances of, teachers, parents, even if it's a principal. So it's a very common entrepreneurial skill that you should be able to do everything. If any person is not there in your school, can you immediately get into that role and do that task? For example, my experience, I have been a receptionist. I did, classroom substitution for a class if a teacher, did not come.
Show. You went and taught them.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And or a teacher training if that's what is required, or calling an employee like an HR, or taking those, admission calls, doing an admission, every single thing.
Yep.
And when you do all of these things, what would you really understand is, where is the process going wrong?
Yeah.
What is missing in the system?
You get good pulse of your organization.
Absolutely. Good pulse of your organization, and you give that confidence to your whole team that you're not just asking them to do it, and that any day something is missing, you can do it yourself. And that, I feel, is the most important thing for anybody who's starting a school. And doesn't mean that only the ones who can teach in the classroom can become, edupreneurs. It's more to say that understanding every small aspect of your school.
Experience that.
Yes. And also define your purpose. There is already a school. Let's say there's Cambridge school, there's an IB school, or there's a, CBSE, private school. Any school that you're planning to start, there's something existing already.
Yeah, of course.
But what is your purpose? Right? Is there a missing element? Or you're bringing in your thought process, your approach, or some cultural value to it? And if you see any, especially US as an example, and common core is the same for, majority of the schools there.
Yeah.
It's the same syllabus, curriculum across. Why is one district different from the other?
Yeah.
Right? Of course, to one extent, whether it's in a good
Affluent
school,
neighborhood.
affluent
Yeah,
neighborhood
that
or
makes a
not.
difference,
But
yeah.
the other part also that I noticed is about what kind of programs do they have? What rooted culture is that school having? What philosophy is that school bringing in? And I think that soul part, is important for the, founders to identify and also maintain that.
Yeah.
And make sure that, is given to all the team members in their school. Or rather, even before, starting a school. I've seen a lot of edupreneurs going around, 100 schools and think how I want to start a school.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I have not done that.
Yeah, you're staying put in the place here.
It's like having that confidence and understanding that this is what I really believe in, and bring that belief system to your school.
Yeah, and what I'm really learning is that having that clarity of the vision you want to create in your ecosystem is really important. So find that why, find that purpose with which you will drive and sustain your ecosystem. That includes not only the teachers or faculty that you will bring on board, but even parents. They have to believe in what they are getting into, the vision of the school, the vision of the founders. Because only if that alignment is there, you are going to create success stories. Otherwise, there's always going to be that tension among different stakeholders at the school. So this is fascinating. And when you walk into a place like Keystone, you can tell that there is some vision behind it and there is some consistency to it. I'd love for you to share, what is, when someone walks into the doors of Keystone here, what do you anticipate they should feel in the first 60 seconds they walk into Keystone?
Right. Definitely sustainability and innovation. I know these are terms that are being used a lot.
Yeah.
Rather, let me define it very clearly. I always, do this session for my teachers every year, ask the same question. Why are our parents sending kids to school? And also ask them, why did you all go to schools? Right? Is it to get marks? Is it to have, a social community for children? Or is it also because morning till evening everyone should go to schools? They're going to schools. What is the purpose? Fundamental
Why are you
purpose?
sending your kids to school?
Why are you sending kids to your school, or why are kids coming to the school? Either way.
Interesting.
And I think in a certain way, we cannot be too idealistic and get too philosophical about it, but rather because kids need to learn something, understand how things function in this world. And fundamentally, from my learning and experience, once they go out from school, what is that they're going to experience to rather prepare them for that? I'm not, again, giving you the idea that, okay, it's to get into college or it's to get into the work. It's fundamentally for you to understand how the world functions.
Be ready for the real world.
Yes. So once you are there in the school, how much of that are you doing? So anyone who enters Keystone, we want them to experience that understanding how the real world functions is through the innovation that they do, the community members that they meet, the problems that they are solving, and their responsibility towards the community or the larger world out there. And more than anything, being humble, doing your thing, having that grit, old school discipline.
Yeah.
These are the basics, that should be in place, irrespective of what curriculum you have or, what board exams do they give.
So let me break this down a little bit. What you just described to me is something that a student would experience once they're here.
Yes.
Right? I'm thinking I'm a prospective parent
Right.
walking into Keystone. What can I feel in the next first 5 minutes that would tell me that there's something different about this school?
Right. So when the rooted philosophy is around Ideal Loom approach,
Okay.
and how that is defined is focusing on ultimately what will the child experience, right? And that's what every parent wants. It's not, and again, that's another thing. It's not to keep the parent happy. It's
Yeah.
more to focus on what is that, this child needs to go through. And it varies. If a child is in early years, that experiences should be different. If they're in high school, that experience is different. But coming down to your point of 5 minutes, I think first they'll find peace.
Okay.
It's more calm
Yeah.
and spacious.
Yeah.
And then there's so much importance to nature,
Yeah.
especially in our campus.
Yeah.
And also you see that, every other person that you meet, there is a namaste.
Yep.
So there's Indian culture aspect. And you come across a lot of innovations, done by our students.
Yeah.
That brings in, the international aspect and the innovation aspect to the school. And also the discipline part, where every classroom, all the students leaving their shoes outside, entering the classroom. So what a parent really wants is a great experience and Indian culture and
Value
values
system. Yeah.
and also a strong academics. And this is what, a parent would want for their child. And that's, I think they will be able to see as soon as they come in.
Any deliberate design implementation you did for them to feel that way in the first 5 minutes?
Of course, as soon as you enter a campus, you do not see any closed spaces. Even the space that we are sitting in here, everything is open to, the greenery that's set outside. And we always want to do something that will allow, or rather give teachers and students certain, freedom to kind of sit and learn wherever they want.
Yeah.
And that has been our core philosophy when we were designing this campus. And also, I'm a strong believer that kids should not be sitting like this and facing the board, and they should not turn their heads, when they're learning something.
Yeah.
You just need to let them, allow to just move around a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
It's very interesting because I got a lovely tour of the campus, before we
Yes.
started talking today. And what fascinated me was that, in a conventional school of thought, if you may, you're trying to think like, okay, how can we not distract the child, right? A typical, image that you get in your mind is that teacher is teaching, but the child is looking outside the window, right? Now, when I saw here, I saw that every classroom is designed in a way where there is a mandatory access to the outdoors, and that
Yes.
view is there, and it's not a window, it's like a
Real
floor
big
to
opening.
ceiling sort of a thing. So help us walk through that mindset of how that is not a distraction, but it will enhance the student experience.
Right. There are many books written on this.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. During my, master's, when I was doing this, we had one learning experience of how movement is experienced for students, or how movement is important for students. And how it kind of enhances, your brain to think fast or to
Interesting.
think better, and rather in a more effective manner. And I think not just for children, it's for adults also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And with that, one is that. And the second is, even if a child is sitting in an enclosed classroom space, and we all have gone through that.
Yeah, of course.
I think even as a student, when we were kids also, that you're looking at the teacher, you're looking at the board. Are you actually listening?
Yeah. You
You're
could be
not.
lost. You could be doodling on your notebook.
So isn't that also distraction?
Yeah.
So you cannot, restrict children, sit in a certain way, and just because they're looking at the teacher, looking at the board, doesn't mean that they're actually listening, or rather actually learning. So when we accept that fact, we'll allow them. And even in the training sessions that we do for teachers, assume that these teachers are students.
Yeah.
Even their attention and their focus, sitting continuously like this for 30 minutes or 40 minutes and then and that 40 minutes learning you're literally absorbing into your brain.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work that way. So movement that way is important, and we've created spaces where they get to move. Go sit on the carpet, come around your round table, sit, move around, ask the teacher, go discuss this with the friend. Even if it's a restricted classroom, like a very structured classroom, and there is not enough space, you can do wonders even with that space that is available. It's not always, great infrastructure. You need to have a round table setting. Only then you can do this.
Yeah.
In fact, before starting the school, I said I worked with, government schools and other private schools. So there was this school where almost 80% of our Indian school setup is very structured benches.
Benches looking at the board.
Yes. And now I think it's around, it's become famous, this concept of U-shaped seating and everything. So with whatever benches were available in that school, we did clustered seating.
Okay.
And we did a documentary around just seating itself. And we asked the teacher to approach her learning in the same way that she was doing. And just because of the movement and small changes made in the classroom in the seating, in every class there are, let's say, 30 students, and out of which there will always be those 4 or 5 students who are inherently smart. And there are students who really need a lot of help. And the students who would never speak, when a teacher asks a question in a typical classroom, and they started speaking more. And
just because of the setup.
Yes. Wow. And the teacher, was surprised. These kids never answered. Forget about whether that's a right answer, a right one or a wrong one. They are speaking.
Yeah.
They're opening up. They feel they are also part of the classroom. Yeah. It's just not that, top 3-4 kids always raising their hands and giving their answers. Yeah. So, and with the whole, of course, at Keystone, we had the privilege to be able to design it the way we want. But anybody can do that.
Yeah. And I think the important takeaway is that for teachers, regardless of their, context or the environment they're in, there is always, if the purpose and intent is in the right place, you could make do with small tweaks in your own setup. That's not going to cost like a budget affection or anything like that. It's just going to be something that you can tweak to really bring about that mindset and expose your children to create that. That's interesting. Now, I mean, obviously doing this for, this campus, I believe, is like almost 7 to 10 years old.
This is just 5 years,
5
maybe?
years.
Yeah, 5 to 6 years.
So over time, as you've implemented design as core part of it, that when you experience every classroom has this backdrop or outdoor access, if you may, was there anything that emerged from either the teachers or the students that was not planned but now is part of the ecosystem?
Right. So before this, we were in a smaller campus, and we had the opportunity to discuss a lot of ideas with our teachers as well and our students. In fact, I remember when we were designing the amphitheater, our kids have given a lot of ideas, and a lot of Hyderabad is famous for rocks. We retained a lot of rocks around, and if you see, there's a rock garden at the center of the school. And it's what we've really realized. So from a smaller campus that we had was the quick access to an outdoor, every classroom having that, and how it really helped them to think that the teacher and students always decided, okay, let's quickly go out and sit there.
The change of setting just triggered
and they were
new
little
learning.
excited. There was so much focus on what they want to learn and the freedom to decide that. And bringing that to this, bigger campus was a joy.
It's almost like, building the antidote that you put them in distraction and they'll be focused.
Yes.
It's almost seems
and
like
I'll give you an example. So there was this school that we were working in. It was in an apartment.
Yeah.
And this whole school is just in 1 floor, 2 floors apartment. The only ground the school had This was, the early years when I was working with, or when I was training teachers, was parking. And with parking, what we did, so the same philosophy. I said, don't restrict them to the classroom, take them out. And then we would take them out, move around the vehicles, sit in that parking lot, make a circle and draw a big geometric shapes, a clock, play some games there with the students, math games.
Nice.
And now because, at that time, that school had only that space,
I remember
teachers
that,
would block that outdoor time.
Ah.
Every hour. Okay, first
was
hour, I'll
popular.
take the kids out. Second hour, this grade will take the kids out. So it's, again, like I said, it's only about how you think the learning and teaching process should be, will be, more important than the space itself. With whatever you have, you can do wonders.
That's amazing. And you had mentioned Idea Loom earlier,
Yes.
and it seems to be the backbone DNA behind
Yeah.
everything that you do.
Yes.
So introduce us to that. What led to this framework coming in,
Right.
bringing life to it.
Right.
Please share us. That.
So I always thought, how can we give students the experience of understanding how it really works in real world? Either you're going to a college, any profession that you get into, understanding how to make things work. And I'm sure when we interview people, we see that, skills are missing, everything is there. What is this whole, skills thing?
Yeah.
Just because we say it's 21st century skills and that's there in a textbook, real
Buzzword.
world problem. And then the student is solving this real world problem. That means are they getting that skill? Not truly, right? I'm sure every educator will accept the fact that you only acquire any skill when you work towards it. Take, even playing an instrument, you play keyboard. You need to, practice it for years together to really say that you're good at
At
it.
the mastery level. Yeah.
And then how can you say that I'm really good at communication, I'm good at critical thinking, or any skill that we talk about is abstract to that teacher. It's very abstract to that student. We might write in our lesson plans that today I'm doing collaboration. I'm making them
What
work
does
on
that mean?
creativity or critical thinking. What does that mean?
Yeah.
How do I do that? Is just having that type of content will just allow these kids to acquire those skills? Not really. And from there, it evolved to what can we really make our students do for the next 10, 12 years while they're at school, so that when they actually go out from the school, they are equipped with all these skill sets. And, we have to be very careful as educators. I strongly believe that claiming that students will become entrepreneurs, leaders, they will be real world problem solvers, is something that we have to take it into consideration very seriously. We can't just make it happen like that, right? All we can do is give exposure, give awareness, work on providing that environment. And then post that based on individual child's ability, based on, home environment in combination with school environment, then we will actually see what these kids are going to become.
Yeah.
So rather than claiming something of what these children will become, we focused on what should be their experience here. And that is Ideal Loom Framework. It's about making them go through a particular problem and then stick with that problem for a couple of months.
Okay.
And dwell with that problem and see what can you achieve with that.
Okay.
And initial couple of years, for 4 to 5 years, Ideal Loom Framework was primarily around, pick a problem that you want to solve for the world, any problem that you want to solve, come up with a solution. And then, they come back, they share their ideas, they try to solve their problem. And then slowly we started realizing, especially our set of students coming from a privileged environment, I feel the biggest challenge is unable to empathize with communities. How much do you know the community around you?
Okay.
And somewhere we are the last generation of students, or rather, age group, or let's say, where we had access to the reality, right?
The bubble is getting bigger and bigger every
Yes,
year.
yes. And these children, the current generation, have that unfortunate situation where you don't really have access to, the world out there in a way you need to have it.
Yes.
I'm sure when we were young, we used to talk to a vegetable vendor,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
used to
absolutely.
walk, or irrespective of what
Street
economic
hawkers,
background
yeah,
we came
absolutely.
from, we did have access to a lot of things, and we, were exposed to certain realities of life, understanding.
That disconnect is getting bigger now.
Yes. So we are trying to bring that at a school level.
Wow.
So what we do through Ideal Loom Framework, we first start every single child, every single grade, we take them into communities. Farmers community, weavers community, even if it's a labor camp, anything.
These are preset communities that the school has identified.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'd go identify, and then we do an immersion program at the beginning
Okay.
of the school, of the project, cycle.
The students get to experience that community
Yes.
as by
just
spending
go
time with
without
them.
any agenda.
No agenda,
You would just go to that community, spend time in that community, do whatever observations you can do, have those conversations, have a complete immersion and understanding. And once they come back, we ask them, what do you observe? And then we start off from empathizing to, innovation. There are different stages that our students go through. And this is not a homework. This is not a 1 week project.
Yeah.
It's 3 to 4 months of a journey that every child would go through during the school hours, within the school, in collaboration with the experts, with the organizations, with the industries. And so much background work happens for all of this. And ask the kids, now, what is it you really want to work on? And we're especially empathizing and finding a problem to solve is the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
More than innovation, more than entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
more than, solving the problem or an idea. What is the
Which
problem?
environment you want to put
Yes.
them in, that selection's
Which
got to be
environment?
challenging.
And after getting into the environment, which problem? And why do you want to solve that problem?
Students come up with that problem,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yes. They list down a lot of problems that they observed and say, we tell them, but why do you want to solve this problem? Lot of times, even as entrepreneurs or problems, we want to solve the problem that we think is a problem. But do they think,
Yeah.
the one who's in the community, who's going through that problem, do they feel that that is a problem?
Yeah.
Right? So that is where, empathizing with the community takes a lot of time for us with the students. And post that, they get into their journey and then come up with a design that works, that doesn't work. They fail at it. And that's the most joyful moment, for me, that to be able to fail with your idea and students getting an opportunity to fail.
Yeah.
While you're at school, and that is rejected, that idea is rejected, it's not working, go back, do another, design, and experimenting it and making a product in the school, itself is understanding the whole cycle. You would be surprised, even a grade 2 student would come up with a great design idea and say, it could be as simple problem as, weavers' hands are, getting the skin disease because they're directly using the dyes without any protection. And they'd say, I would want to build a drone. So because when they're young, their ideas are crazy.
Of
and
course.
we allow that.
Yeah.
But from that to,
Yeah.
in 4 months, coming to the most realistic solution possible, that's a great learning.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When we talk about innovation, we think something very big. Actually, a lot of innovation is in simple things, in very simple solutions.
And it's the context of that age also to be able to do that.
To be able to do that. So that, going through all of that is Idea Loom Framework.
Wonderful.
And so many stages, nuances, discussions that they have. And also when we say collaborating, okay, my idea is this. another student's idea is this. Now we have to pick one. Which
Yeah.
one works best? There you are actually doing a collaboration. There actually critical thinking is coming up. And you can't define sometimes, right, all these skills. Rather just go through those
It's
experiences.
experiencing those rather than
Yes.
putting it on paper in a
Yeah,
form,
and
right?
keep experiencing them, keep documenting, keep doing your research. And after 10 12 years of doing this, you're rather more aware now of what you're doing. Right, than defining it as, okay, now I'm critical thinking person.
There's no graduation to critical thinking.
You
It's an
can't.
ongoing
Yes,
process.
it's ongoing.
Absolutely.
Like, how do you go through that is more important.
So for the, they might teachers and principals listening, getting inspired by this whole idea of the framework, the Ideal Loom Framework that we were just talking about. If they wanted to bring a piece of that ideology into their classrooms, not everyone may have the opportunity to have an elaborate setup, but there is still ways you could implement parts of it as a start, right? What would be your advice to them? How can they bring it into their local context?
I think first, any teacher, any educator should first believe that this has nothing to do with, your school setup or your infrastructure, or I don't have a makerspace lab. I don't have this machinery.
Resources not limiting. Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything that you want to do in the classroom, it's all about how you have those conversations with the students. How do you lead students to identify a problem? It could first start small, right? And that gives the confidence to the teacher first.
Yeah.
And again, in the whole conversation, I empathize a lot with teachers.
Of course.
My complete,
That's your core.
My core and my whole attention is, goes to the teacher. You might have a great idea. Look at what the teacher is capable of doing. How can you help her? So one thing that we do with all our new teachers in the school, when I say new, not just, in terms of experience.
New to the teacher profession, but new to your school.
New to our school. They could be, having even 10 years experience, 5 years experience, is they go through the same thing as students. And that's again, project experience program that we do for the teachers. So during summer or whenever we get the break, all the teachers are treated like students. They are there in one classroom setup, irrespective of whether it's a nursery teacher or a high school teacher. And that's the best way even to bring your, departments together. Make a collaboration. Yes. And when everyone comes together, and then when you make them, okay, you're all, students now. Imagine. Now, what are the problems that you are going through? Or let's do an immersion with them for a day, right? And we did, had a visit to a labor camp. Right? Just have a look around the labor camp. What kind of a lifestyle are they having? What are they going through? What are the challenges they're facing? Have a nice, field trip.
Yep.
And then let them come back. Let them list down the problems.
Oh, wow.
And make the teachers go through the same experience that you want your students to go through. And I feel any teacher will be a great teacher if they themselves experience innovation. They experience, SEL. So educators can really, make things work if they empathize with the teacher first, make them go through that experience. And at any point, we don't have to jump into telling them that, okay, now do this with your students, do this with your students. Then just like, can you do this? Right? Now you come up with list of problems. What is your design? You give a small design, small solution. It could just be one day experience. What happens with that? The teacher is going through it, on her own or on his own. And they understand now what it takes for the student to go through it. What challenges would the student come across? So making teachers experience what students would want to experience, I would think that's the best way to start.
Now, this is something that they do at the start of it's almost like orientation to Keystone.
Yes.
What about like, a lot of schools are focused on, or at least bringing awareness now around teacher training and wanting to ensure that their teachers are continuously upgraded, right? So do you have something similar for an ongoing basis as well that you follow?
Yes, absolutely. Again, teacher training also, right? We have to look at it in a more comprehensive manner
Of course.
than number of hours. Your number of hours of teacher training has no meaning if the experiences are not defined carefully for the teachers.
This just becomes a metrics that people feel easy to look.
Yes.
Okay, we are doing 50 hours of
Yes.
teacher training.
But what exactly are you doing in those 50 hours? What are their experiences during that time? What are they actually going through?
How does one measure that?
I think more than measuring itself, looking at the needs of a school, right? What are my needs, let's say, for the coming year, right? What are my needs? What are the improvements that I'm planning to make in the school? What are the changes that I'm planning to bring into the school? And what are the routines that I want to maintain in the school? And once you have that planning in place, we have to work backwards. Now, how much time am I giving my teacher for this? And understand, even if you want to do 20 things during the school year and make 20 changes, are you giving enough time for the teacher to understand that, go through that experience, and then deliver it, and then later measure whether that worked or not? So it's all about understanding and planning. What it takes, for a teacher to, go through so many things. Every year we come up with something new and expect the teacher, okay, now you do this. This thing has come up. Another letter has come up. Another notice has come. So doing it because there is, a mandate versus making them understand the purpose, give enough time, make a proper planning, put it part of their experience also. And I strongly believe in continuous learning for the teacher than one time,
One-off certificate is no good,
certificate. And you would come across a teacher these days where there are a list of 20, 30 certificates or 20, 30 things on a resume. But how much knowledge do you have in making it work in the classroom has no connection with how many sessions you have taken. Right. So I think that's the approach that schools can take. And coming to the innovation part, Idea Loom approach kind of model, we also have KCITE, where irrespective of any board that you are in, irrespective of, international curriculum or national curriculum or even a government school also, anybody can do that. Any classroom, any teacher. No
prerequisites that you had to show or overcome at one point, right?
Exactly. And all that you need is have that conversation in the school, look at, and again, like I said, start small. Start with a simple idea, something that you can just do for a week, right? With just 30 minutes every day. Or what is that possible for your school? How much can you accommodate? And do it consistently. And do it for a period. Then on top of it, build it for next year.
Makes sense.
And that's the best approach that any school can take than directly making, single day shift. And then rather everyone gets into a panic.
I think what I'm hearing is the consistency part is really key. You cannot just wake up one day and say like, okay, the random string of programs, but they all have to be cohesive and sort of building up to, one block at a time. I want to talk more about KCITE, but before, you mentioned something very interesting about, resumes for teachers coming across with list of certifications and all that, which begs the larger question. With someone who's got so much context about teachers, training and all of that, I bet your hiring is gotta be a very interesting process, right? So please do share with us that what do you look out for when a candidate walks into the door? If a teacher is looking to come be part of the Keystone community, what would you be looking for?
See, there is one thing about teachers of this generation, right? They're between the previous generation learning style versus what the new age schools are expecting. Now, the first thing that we keep in mind, all the teachers that we are looking at now, they all have learned in the same old way that they are being taught. Right?
Yeah.
The same, whatever rote learning we talk about, or
They
good,
grew
bad
up
together.
with that context.
That context.
And now they're joining the teaching world.
Teaching
or they have
world.
been teaching. Whatever
And
the
now
case
they're
is.
expected to be in an innovative environment. So that's a huge contrast.
It's an identity shift also.
Yes,
Yeah.
shift in there. So I think it's fundamentally looking at the mindset of the teacher than the certificate. Of course, when it comes to understanding, because whether it's a Cambridge school or an IB school or CBSE, looking at the basics is any day important.
Yeah, of course.
Whether you have the content knowledge, whether you have taught in that curriculum for a couple of years, whether you have, most importantly, the strong academic knowledge. That's the key. I mean, without that, I can't speak about innovation.
Yeah.
So once you have your core academic knowledge, strong content and understanding, then comes in your mindset. Are you fixed about, no, this is how it has to be taught? And I have taught for 10 years and this is the only way to do it? That's a no for
How
me.
do you evaluate that?
Once you take a resume, there'll be a lot of certifications written and everything. The first question to ask, can you tell me how you have implemented this? Right? Give me an evidence. To my surprise, a lot of that's not relevant only to education field. Right?
Oh, in general, yeah.
In general.
I do the same, yeah.
Can you give me an evidence?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a story
Yeah.
about, whatever you have done? And I find most people, not
They're winging
these-
it.
Yeah. And that's a, challenge. And the second thing is their personal story. That will make a lot of difference. I don't mean to say that, okay, they have to come and tell their whole personal life. It's more about understanding fundamentally why did they choose teaching. They might have chosen teaching just for financial purpose or, for just, lack of other choice,
That would be
whatever.
counterintuitive.
But that is still okay.
Yeah.
We would still also consider that. But are you aware of it?
Yeah.
Do you know that you have, chosen it for
Chosen
that
this,
purpose? Having that clarity.
So clarity
is-
of their why
Yes.
is very important for
Yes.
you. And that's a question I'm assuming
Yeah.
your team asks.
Yes. And when they say, share their personal story in every single interview, we do talk about their personal story, why the transition from a school to the other, and also understanding that somewhere you as a person, as a teacher, bring in your good and bad to the classroom. There is a baggage.
Yeah.
Right?
You're bringing a version of yourself to the...
You are bringing your version. And so it is important for us to know your story. Right? Farmer's family, entrepreneur's family, or where you come from. It's not to decide somebody is good or bad. It's for us to know what's their story. So that when a context comes in the school and something is working, not working, and we would know where that is coming from. And you would rather know how to help them better. That is more important. And having that complete context about that person, and more than anything, I would say that every school should mandate BGV.
Okay. Well, please
Like
help me
background
unlock.
verification.
Okay.
It is so important, especially for teachers. As a teacher,
This BGV is different than what a regular employer would do?
Yes.
It's just
You
different.
need to, I would say you should call the, previous school, ask them. Ask them what was your experience. It's okay to change, it's okay to change.
No, of course, yeah. People are growing and wanting to change.
But you are expecting, a well-being session from a teacher. Sitting there with 24, kids and giving a conversation in life, you're talking about anger, right? I want to know how you dealt with anger, right? I'm not expecting you to be a perfect teacher. Or rather, let's accept who we are, understand who we are, then let's go to our children.
Yeah.
Right? So I think when it comes to interview, selecting teachers is no more just taking a resume, looking at the list and, sharing it. But again, not deciding on somebody is a good teacher or a bad teacher, but having a comprehensive understanding about that person, get them on board, and help them out on how you want them to fit into your philosophy.
What's better for a progressive school, if I may call Keystone a progressive school, of course, right? What's better, to hire or bring on teachers who are relatively early in their career, or teachers who've been a
Right.
decade at
Yeah.
least long teachers? Like,
Right.
is that something you think about, or should school owners be thinking about?
Yes, of course. I would suggest it should always be a balance of both. Because sometimes I see when new teachers come in without any experience, they do wonders.
Yeah.
They're open to learn anything.
And especially when they're backed with the
yeah.
framework and the orientation
They'll
that you guys are doing. Yeah.
Right? And they can absorb as much as they can. And you also need experienced teachers in order to understand what works sometimes and what doesn't work with children. Rather more than, how much experience. Of course, when you talk about high school, you need only experienced teachers.
Okay.
And because more than innovation, more than being progressive, there you just need to understand mindsets of high school children. Right?
Acha. It's above content.
Yes.
Ah, interesting.
The behavioral patterns, understanding what's working for them, what's not working. How do you build relation with a high school student? And so I think you need to understand the needs based on the department. Early years has a different need.
Yeah.
High school has a different need. Middle school has a different need. And on top of that, it is building up with, okay, who is this teacher? Where is she coming from? What is her identity? And you can take a teacher based on, the availability, everything. But how do you work with that teacher is again dependent on how you have interview processes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears a little bit. You mentioned KCITE, and it almost seems like it's the version 2.0 of your original
Initial,
vision and
yes.
aspiration of working with teachers and
Right.
improving their ability to create a larger impact.
Right.
I'm sensing that's your larger why
Yes.
of why you got into it. And we heard that Keystone School was
Right.
basically with the idea of creating that model school.
Yes.
So talk us that why. So I guess we heard that why this concept of teacher training did not work earlier because people did not have enough proof of concept, or you were not able to show a concrete thing
Right.
in front of them. But now that you've done that, how has that changed the reception for version 2.0, or call it KCITE now?
Yes. Imagine, any child, right? Especially, the age group that, even your own kids also. They get excited when they see something,
Yeah, of course.
right? Of course, imagination is great.
That's
at
human
that-
psychology
Human
also,
psychology. So it was very important for me to talk about anything in teacher education through evidence and through demonstration, so that you get the context that this is how it is done. Especially for a teacher, lot of trainings in general are very abstract.
Yeah.
Right, I'm sitting and I'm listening to it. Great idea, and go back and implement. And as soon as, I would also go through the same. All great ideas come back to the school and you want to implement it. Then you thought it can be done in a day, and it might have taken you a year, to bring that change.
Or more.
Every entrepreneur would go
Yeah,
through that.
absolutely.
And same thing for a teacher.
Yeah.
Let's say you want to implement social emotional learning. All this is so great to hear. Now, once I get into the classroom, I see those 30, 40 kids in a usual typical Indian classroom. And then the whole context of what I had come in with will just, go away like this. My lesson plan, I made it for 40 minutes and it has, completely upside down now.
Yeah.
So again, empathizing with the teacher is very important. And for that reason, now KCITE, earlier KCITE was more about, okay, this is what innovation is. This is the change we have to bring in. Let's change the classroom environments. Let's bring in the strategy. Now it is like, this is how it is done. This is the evidence of how a teacher has done it. This is the evidence of how a student has written a reflection. And this is the expectation you can have.
So it's almost like in the past you were dreaming together. Now you're saying, hey, I've been there.
Yes.
This is how you're going to be
Yes.
able to achieve results.
And we are now able to tell them what mistakes can you expect. Rather than knowing what should be done, knowing what are the things that I should not be doing is also so important, especially being a teacher. So I think KCITE as a organization, we are able to, in all our courses, all our trainings, to every single teacher, and any course that you log in, you would be able to see teachers across the spectrum.
And it's only online, or is it in
virtually
person?
in person also.
Okay.
A few schools we would do, but right now majority is virtual.
Okay.
And but we have seen there's a teacher from Zimbabwe, there's a
wow.
teacher from Kenya, there's a teacher from Indian government school, there's a teacher from an IB school, there's a teacher from,
The
and
variety,
all of them,
diversity is
yes,
all across.
and what really stood out was they were all self-motivated.
Really?
None of them were told that you should go attend this session.
It's not a school-driven,
not
top-down
a
initiative.
school.
It's not a
No.
top-down. It's like a
Yeah.
internal.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And that gave us the confidence that there are so many motivated teachers out there
Yeah.
who really want to do something better in their classrooms.
How do you find those people?
I think when you just put, out there that this is the work that you are doing, if you're interested, you please, come in, and we are happy to share our knowledge. And organically, all these teachers have come together.
Wow.
And today there are around, 3,000 odd teachers on the platform.
Wow.
And
They're actively part of the
Yes,
program right now.
yes.
And how long is the typical program?
so it all depends on what course or the webinar or the certification program or anything that they are part of, and based on that, they there. And also we have a community platform where they're engaged on the community, irrespective of whether they've taken active courses or not, where we keep sharing free resources, lot of motivation, lot of sharing, and the exciting part is they come back with an evidence. That's a unique thing about our educators portal.
They're contributing back evidence because that's
Yes.
part of the framework anyway.
It's not mandatory.
Yeah.
But
voluntarily it's coming.
Yes.
So, this KCITE modules or framework that you're working on, and it's amazing to hear 3,000 students, call it that, have been actively engaged with it. And the idea is to bring as many self-motivated teachers to be part of the community. Can you share with us a transformation experience that you may have observed specifically about a teacher who
Right.
came out with a certain mindset, or
Right.
came into the program one way, and what the transformation they left
Right.
with? An
Right.
example of that.
Sure. So our approach to the program has always been to understand the needs of the teachers first, because they all come from varied environments. Like I earlier had mentioned, it could be a private school or a public school, or at least 5 to 10% of our teachers are also from other countries. And having that common context of a teacher, and then whatever session we deliver has different levels to it. If you have a classroom that has multiple resources and you're equipped right from technology to everything, this is how you take up this session in your class. Let's take up social emotional learning, right? And one of the teachers said, our children are very naughty, we have a lot of behavioral issues, and our school is going through this problem. And then post the session, she's been coming into the sessions for almost 4 weeks now.
Okay.
And they went back, implemented the program, and she came back and said, I'm able to see that students are responding better now.
Interesting.
And I feel more than a training session, it's, hand holding that is happening, right? Telling them that, don't expect, that it'll work wonders immediately. At least the first thing is, did you initiate it? Were you able to at least start? And were you able to, have a conversation around this in your school, in your classroom?
Okay.
And are you able to accommodate this into your, week's plan or in your day's plan. And then, by the time 5th week, the teacher has come out and say, oh, I missed out last week's session. And then she want, to connect with another teacher, learn from her. That was a very big testimonial for us.
Yeah.
Coming back on their own without, it being a mandate, or a certificate mandated by a school, versus coming in through self-motivation, taking the sessions. And in our, community, KCITE community, every week we ask them to share the evidences.
Okay. Nice.
And variety of evidences come in. And at different levels, some might have just done it, really on an average job. Some might have done it a great job. Some might have just initiated the program. But we could see that coming back to showcase an evidence is a very big thing for a teacher, because their manager is not asking, their principal is not asking. It's just the community that is asking.
Yeah.
So that means a teacher has started making that change in their school.
And there's a strong accountability within the community that way. That's very
So huge
fascinating.
accountability, and also every session that we give, the focus is more on understanding what it takes for the teacher to do something in the classroom, and what all challenges would you go through. So that, I think, is making a huge difference.
I'm just thinking out loud that if I'm a school owner right now or principal, and I need to identify self-motivated teachers,
that's a
I
best
need to
place
be
to go.
I need to be going to
I'm
your
sure.
community and finding
Yes.
out who's looking for a change.
Yes.
That's fascinating.
I think, honestly speaking, because I've worked with right from government school teachers, private school teachers, to all, across the spectrum, it's not that teachers are not motivated.
Okay.
It's just that we need to give them in a way that they can understand. We need to equip them in a way that they find it easier to, implement. And once we do that, they feel very confident to do it. And most of, I can't generalize 100%, but majority are interested in doing something. But if you can just fix, where they're blocked, what is their block?
No, I think
That's
what you
it.
just said is a great learning for school promoters, that, often it's very easy for us to say, "Arey, teachers milte nahi hai hamari," we don't find teachers in our own. If I'm in this city, teachers are hard to find, or my teachers may not be self-motivated, or I don't get good quality teachers. I think believing in that goodness and intent of the teachers is a very first step that we need to take as, school promoters.
Yes.
And then giving them the right tool which allows them to express themselves and be the best version of themselves, I think, is where the value is.
And especially in India, right? We as a country, there are many challenges for us in the education
Of course.
space. I feel our thought process should always be either it's human resource or any other resource in the education space. We should be innovative in what best can we do with what we have. Then, waiting like, okay, when this happens, when I get this resource, I will start, making a change. That could be, okay, with whatever set of teachers you have, you can still work it out. Do your best. Maybe not 100%, but with the right strategy, right approach, and right set of, trainings or, ecosystem, and rather purpose. It can start small, but it will definitely get to where it has to be.
And learning doesn't seem to be limited to just classrooms. It seems like it's very intentional in everything that you're doing, even including designing your campus to be sustainable.
Right.
I think that is very empowering, that a school is focused on. It's not just, there's one thing like, oh, we are a sustainable campus, right? But that is again very limiting impact.
Right.
Whereas seeding the idea of what sustainability is, I think that's the larger grassroots change we need in our next generation of children.
Right.
How do you ensure that happens in your campus through everyday exposure to your children?
Right. That's a very good question. And especially schools, right? I feel unlike any other organization, company, we have that responsibility on us on how we think and process as an organization. That has a direct impact on children. And when we wanted to, design this campus, and it's completely designed and, executed by Pushkin, my husband and the chairman of the organization, our thought process was completely looking at what are children going to do in this space. And what material do we choose, for this space? And we are an IGBC platinum rated facility.
Oh, wow, nice.
And that's, we take a lot of pride in saying that, because it is not just about having that certification, right? There are so many conversations that you can have with children, especially because we tell them, oh, you should be global citizens. You should start thinking about the world. As an organization, how did I think about the world? As an organization, what actions did we, put into place? What kind of responsibility did we take up that showcases as an example to the students in this school that we were very responsible in building the facility. We were very responsible in choosing our material. We were very responsible in, how we function as a school. It could be a solar or, the greenery. Almost 80% of the campus is, green, equipped, or rather, covered with greenery. And so when we have these conversations, the confidence that we give to the students in the small actions that they take, to the point that, okay, only steel bottles are allowed in the classroom.
Oh, wow.
Or every small utensil in our kitchen is only, stainless steel. Or all the food wastage, from the cafeteria. For example, we have a student leadership team. That team would every day measure the wastage that has come out from lunch and breakfast.
Oh, wow.
And go around the tables and campaign, okay, let's try to reduce the waste.
So measuring and then reducing.
Yes, measuring and reducing. And that responsibility is given to them.
Wonderful.
And then all that waste would go to, composting, huge composting, machinery that is in place.
On campus?
On campus.
Oh, lovely.
No waste goes out. And then segregation of waste, giving them that understanding.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would feel very proud to say, in our campus, it's not mandatory that every classroom will have ACs turned on every single day.
Okay.
We have a temperature, measuring thermometers and in every room. If it goes below 26 degrees if it goes above 26 degrees or 27 degrees, then they're allowed to turn on the AC.
Okay.
Or if there is, a need that, it's the environment is not great outside, the weather is not great outside, then why that, AC classroom is not about, just because it's an international school.
Yeah.
It's more about comfort or convenience.
Responsible
comfort based on the need. And we have designed the facility in such a way that, the complete campus, design, lot of sustainable actions have been put in place.
Cross-ventilation is amazing.
Cross-ventilation to a lot of greenery, that mostly temperatures are below 27.
Oh, wow.
Other than 4 months in a year.
Yeah.
And those times we don't necessarily have to, turn on, air condition in the classroom. So that they understand that only is needed when it is needed. Not just because it is there that you need to turn it on. And right from, even, I'm sure that's very simple thing, but that kind of behavioral aspect that comes into the teachers and students, I feel that's very important.
Yeah.
That our students are absolutely fine, where they sit and learn. And of course, it's completely solar equipped, the whole campus.
Yeah.
And a lot of actions that are, put into place for every, in every way that we can be sustainably or meet sustainable goals as a school. And we are also part of TAS, a global sustainable schools community.
Oh, wow.
And very few schools in India, are part of the program. And we're proud to say that, we're part of the schools group. And where there are student leadership who decide the sustainable goals for the year and execute those goals, produce evidence, and then submit to the group. So there's accountability.
Every school sets their own goals.
So there are some common goals that we decide together as schools.
As a conference
and
or
then,
whatever.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, and every single material that comes in as a waste in the school is recycled every single month.
Wow.
Identifying that. And all these actions, I'm sure we're not doing it 100%, but our goal is to do it 100%. And to make sure that have an open conversation with the students, where are we making mistakes in terms of being responsible as a school, and allowing students also to open up their ideas with us, and bringing in that leadership responsibility to the students. And as an organization, not just because it's a program in the school, but as an organization, working together with students and student leadership has been successful at Keystone so far.
Has that spilled over to home environments where parents are coming back and saying,
Younger,
what have you taught our children?
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
especially around Diwali.
Yeah.
So from, okay, as schools, sometimes it should also be fun. Yes, that comes in, but younger they are, the more they absorb these ideas.
Yeah.
Younger students absorb these ideas more. And we have a program called Earth Warriors in early years. And it's very interesting on how, when they're very young, they're very sensitive towards nature.
Yeah.
Than, when they're older.
Yeah.
So
True.
That's also, a lot of ideas come from them.
Interesting. This whole mindset of embedding values come with its own sets of, challenge. As a leader of the school, I want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that have sort of come for you, because I feel a lot of audience will resonate with some of those challenges and what we can learn from those. So, I mean, can you talk about maybe a decision that went wrong and, how you went about in your school environment to course correct or learn forward from that?
Right. I think maybe I might sound too positive. I knew what challenges I would face, for the path that I have chosen.
You're a researcher, so you think ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe because having worked in government entities, NGOs, being in the teacher education field, being a trainer.
You get exposed to a lot of those challenges
Yeah.
up front before your own
So
environment. Yeah.
I never felt, so I felt, those were, more challenging than this. The biggest challenge is how best can we really help our children, especially the current generation.
Yeah.
In terms of running the school, education ecosystem, or, facility or campus, it's like any other entrepreneur's journey, right? And you would know what challenges you would face, and you just need to work on it.
Yeah.
And we always work backwards.
Yeah.
So that always helped.
Yeah.
But the one challenge that I feel every year we sit, think about it, and look at how best can we do, is the current generation that we are dealing with.
Yeah.
Their exposure to social media,
Yeah.
the home environments, that they are in,
Yeah.
and how best can we help our parents. See, whatever we can do within our school, it is still in our control, and we can do our best.
Yes.
Right? And whatever program we can create. Teachers, how best can we help our teachers? It is still. But what happens outside the school environment? Right? Where these children go, what kind of exposure are they getting, what do they have access to in terms of information, technology, screen, social media, influence that they are having.
Yep.
Sometimes we do not have 100% knowledge and access to all of that, right? So
The externalities,
Yes,
basically.
yes.
Yeah.
And that we try to work on, right? How else can we, do student engagement? How else can we understand them better? How else can we help them better? How else can we help parents better? So, yeah, other than that, I think the rest of the things are like more than a challenge. Yes, it is what it is, and we'd rather be more creative in solving it.
Got it. Let me try to ask a flip side of that in terms of, can you think of constraints that you may have which eventually made Keystone stronger?
Right. I think constraints are more about sticking to the philosophy, not changing the vision, and retaining, the approach that we started with, and making sure that when we are scaling this, we should only get better. When something is scaling, right? There is this tendency that any entrepreneurial journey, that when you're scaling something, your vision slowly gets diluted or it gets standardized. Everything gets standardized. In the process of standardization, you lose authenticity.
Okay.
And you lose, slightly the purpose.
How do you control for that challenge?
So more than control, I think every year we do a reflection process. You all sit together, understand what worked, what didn't work, right? And what is that we first started with. Reminding ourselves with why did we start Keystone? What is our fundamental purpose? What are we doing today? What were the challenges, when we started versus what are the challenges today? And okay, let's stick to our vision, let's stick to our philosophy, let's stick to our purpose. What changes is only our strategies, our approaches, our programs, and only improvement on that.
Yeah.
So more than constraints, it's a reflection journey, reflection process every year that kind of allows everybody to, maneuver around and figure out.
So while this, I'm just listening to talking about the whole idea of reflection and all. Obviously, you as the founder plays a very important role to drive that year on year, right? And while it may be early years to talk about legacy and long term impact, but still, as a founder, does it come to your mind that okay, how do you envision this to scale, and how does this journey carry forward beyond you as the founder?
I believe a lot in process and systems. You take any successful entity, it's not just about that founder, right? Great examples of educational institutions, great examples of successful organizations. You walk into any of these organizations, you see there's a strong culture, process, system.
Yeah.
And from the beginning, we focused on that.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at, doing so many projects in a year, every single person doing those projects, and rather we are excelling at it, right? Maybe initially I was the only one looking at every single project, every single stage, how well it is going. Now there's a very good team, that has been doing it. So we have set a process right from, understanding what kind of teachers would come on board, should they be doing. There's a guidelines book for every department, a really big size guidelines book. Everything is written in that.
Okay.
Every small nuance is written. What are your entry-exit routines for the classroom?
Wow.
What is the timetable like? Why are we doing social emotional learning? How long will we do it? What is the purpose of it? All
so
of
not
this
just
is
the
written.
process, but the purpose behind the process also is
Yes.
defined.
Is defined.
Wonderful.
It's written, and we have a great team of educators who've been with us for a very long time, and their purpose is also not just about. They are focusing more on, let's say, we have so many sessions that they themselves have recorded in telling the new team who might come on board, just telling
Training
the story.
sessions.
Not just training.
Onboarding
These are
sessions.
just awareness. Just awareness. Any teacher in the school can watch that anytime.
Wow.
And they would know. Right? For example, digital citizenship or financial literacy. It's not just giving that content or that framework and asking the teacher to implement. They can anytime go watch a video on, understanding the purpose and everything. But coming back to the legacy part, I think the goal here more than the legacy is how can we continue to set a process where we keep innovating as a school, where whatever we are doing this year is not enough. What else can we do is the question that comes every year. And how can we continue to inspire other educators, continue to inspire other leadership principals and teachers when they come into Keystone and through KCITE, how do we equip them?
Yeah.
And what should that approach or process be?
Yeah.
So that's always the agenda.
That's awesome. No, I think this is amazing insights. And I like vision. I love to dream as well. And if I was to walk into a classroom at Keystone just the way I did today, in 2035,
Yes.
what do you think I will hear, feel, or experience
Right. I
in
think,
that time?
Yeah, more student agency and something more relevant to what is that they need when they step out from the school, after they finish their high school, from here, and constantly bringing that real time relevance into the classroom. And it's, always evolving. And today, the level of projects that they're working on, all the programs that we're implementing, right from, a well-being to, financial literacy, these are all very dynamic programs.
They'll keep evolving as well.
They keep evolving, right? And they're not just static where, okay, it's designed and next 10 years we'll implement this.
Yeah.
So these are all the needs. And within that or within each program, now the financial literacy, for example, it will evolve based on how the economy of India or the world is evolving. I can't teach what I'm teaching today after 10 years.
Yeah.
But is financial literacy program important? You will still see financial literacy when in 2035. But what we do within the program will evolve.
Yeah. Makes sense. I think this is amazing. As a parting thought, I do want to hear, with the journey that you've had, and we've truly been inspired today. I would love for you to share one learning from your journey directed towards each of our stakeholders, whether it be a school promoter or a teacher, and of course a parent as well. So for the three stakeholders from your journey, what would you like us to learn?
Based on, my experience having met so many principals and teachers, either directly training them or in indirect conversations also, that in today's generation, education in terms of, whatever we are serving, to whomever we are serving, parents or students, it is not the same how it was before. It is quite challenging. It is sometimes very stressful. It is, thankless sometimes.
100%.
Yeah.
Everyone will resonate with that.
Yes. So, but unlike any other profession, this is one profession where you will be so satisfied. Fulfillment, satisfaction, lot of joy. And understanding the purpose and being truly genuine towards your efforts and being authentic is very important, because we, our personalities will reflect a lot on our students. So who you are as a teacher, who you are as a principal, as an educator, as a person. So working on yourself is more important than anything else.
Wonderful.
So, and I continue to do that, and I expect, all the educators, and I would love them to also do that.
Thank you so much for sharing. Anything for the parents?
Parents, okay. Yeah. I think parents should be more confident in themselves.
And their choices for their children,
choices
right?
for their children.
Yeah.
Just being comfortable just with who they are, as parents, and constantly working towards, parenting is not easy for this generation. And there are many challenges for parents today. But if a parent can just focus on how can I just be a more conscious and a better parent, that's enough. And we should not always look for examples outside. Especially as parents. And
very important.
Yes. And accept your kids for who they are. Of course, we have to help them be disciplined, educate them well, teach values. All that is okay. But accept them for who they are and allow them, to just explore, the world out there. That's enough.
Wonderful.
And have less expectations on your kids.
Awesome.
Yes.
And, last thing that what intrigues me, or what I would like to ask is, if there was an educator you look up to, and you were hosting a podcast, what would be one question you would want to ask them?
Wow. Can I say not an educator, but two people that had a great influence on me?
Fair enough.
Yes. I think I'm a great follower of Jane Goodall.
Okay.
She's a great scientist, environmentalist, and she's in her 90s.
Oh, wow.
And she's still actively working. And one of our sections name is also Goodall.
Oh, wow.
So we don't have ABC name sections.
No, I
We
saw
have-
that. Yeah.
Yes.
Kalam and all that. Yeah.
What inspires me is to continue to work irrespective of your age.
Nice.
And sticking to your purpose
Yeah.
irrespective of your age. And the second person that I'm really inspired by is, Obama,
Okay.
Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama. Okay.
Just the balancing act that she did
Yeah.
in everything that she was thrown into.
Yeah.
I think especially as women, if we can balance things and also being realistic and understand what is required. I think these are the two people that I
Awesome,
constantly hear to and then read about.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and sharing the insights with us. This has been an amazing conversation, and I'm sure that all of us listening will resonate and learn from your journey. And we wish you all the best to
Yeah.
really go all out and create that impact of influencing teachers to help find their calling and be the best version of themselves. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ankur.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy to have this conversation
Thank
with
you.
you. And I truly appreciate the curiosity you have.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great. From the design thinking walls of Keystone to the teacher development labs of KCITE, Srilakshmi's work shows us that innovation in education isn't about buzzwords. It's about intentional choices repeated daily that change how children see themselves and the world. If today's conversation sparked an idea for you, share it with someone who is ready to think bigger. This is Ankur Gupta signing out. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep learning and keep inspiring.